We got to get it on tape. Pardon? Yeah. Good morning, and we'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order. It is Wednesday, November 28th, and we'll have a roll call.
Mr. Lejes?
Present.
Mr. Vickery?
Present.
Mr. Washington?
Present.
Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Present.
Mr. Seroy?
Present.
Mr. Hildebrand? Mr. Einfeld? Ms. Weber?
Present.
Mr. Payton?
Present.
Ms. Dunbar? Mr. Ritter?
Present.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Present.
Mr. Zenz?
Present.
Ms. Haas?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Lear?
Present.
We have a quorum, and I've received no requests for public comment. Is there any public comment? I'll ask again, is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to presentation. I have no presentations. I would ask for approval of the minutes of the July 25th, 2018. That's the only minutes that are prepared for now. Mr. Lejes with a motion. Mr. Payton with a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is Mike Lynch here?
No, he's not here. In case there was any other.
I got you, okay. Treasurer's Office, Nick Africano. I need a motion to do the County Treasurer report, the County Collector's report, and the monthly resolutions. Mr. Seroy's. Mr. Washington with a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like same. Motion carries. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now it is. Very good.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. And it's nice to be your treasurer for the next 4 years again. Let me add that. We had tax sale on November 14th. We sold 1,642 properties, or including mobile homes. 895 properties were sold to tax buyers. 588 real estate properties sold to or taken by the trustee. We raised just north of $2.68 million. That's the good news. There's some challenges out there with the tax sale, specifically in Kankakee. As some of you know, PNC Bank building was sold for taxes, and so was the arcade building. So, you know, that's just some things that we're going to keep an eye on. Hopefully those get back squared away, and but I think Kankakee was happy. We didn't think they would sell. So I know Kankakee, the city of Kankakee, was happy they sold because, or I think they were. They got their taxes paid, so that helped because it was $340,000 probably in property taxes between the two of them. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Just a housekeeping matter. You'll probably notice in Steve's packet or in his numbers, I can't make heads or tails of them, but I just want to let you know there's a $3 million adjustment that you're going to see in terms of with me. That's simply me collecting an over distribution back. So you guys got an early distribution. Like every other taxing body, before the final distribution, I would make a over distribution correction. That's what we've done. So we have the $3 million back, the early money. I'm really excited. I can't say with 100% certainty, but I'm certainly in the 90s confident that we are going to be able to allow people to pay their taxes between January and the end of August in as many payments as they choose. You can pay them. You'll be able to pay them monthly, weekly, $100 a month toward them, $200 a month toward them, $50, you know, because you have $50 extra, you can come in and put them on them. This is something I've wanted to do from the day I came through the door. We met with a vendor yesterday. There's no cost to the county for it. The program is incredible. And I think that this would really go a long way to helping people manage their tax burden. And of course, you would have to have paid by first installment amount, and by second installment, you would have to have paid second installment amount, or all other rules apply. I see, Mike, you have a question?
Just wondering, Nick, if any other counties are doing it, and have you talked to them and how,
They
how it
are.
worked out with them?
They are. We're working with county, Joe Davis County, which is Galena. That they and Champaign is not done this exactly, but something similar. We're working with Joe Davis to find out what the possible, because of course there's always something that you don't anticipate, some pitfalls, and what those are and how we can potentially avoid them. The question in my office has always been, do we have the manpower or the person power to institute it, to make partial payments? That's a little harder to keep track of, but technology has caught up, and I think that you can make these online. Of course, you're gonna pay a fee for credit card or a very small fee for an e-check. But I just been saying it for a long time. I think if you can, I wanted to get from a 4-payment plan, which is what we have now, to a 6-payment plan. This really is a 30-payment plan or a 2-payment. It's absolutely up to you. You can schedule. So you could schedule a payment to come out. You'll get an email that says, hey, by the way, Mike, you've agreed that tax payments are going to come out 3 days from now. If that's what you still want to do, hit yes. If you don't, hit no. So I just think it's really going to offer options for taxpayers, and that's what I really want to do, and something we talked about early on.
To declare how your payment's going to be, or can you pay 1 month, skip a month, and,
Yeah.
and
There's-
double up? And,
Absolutely.
okay.
Which, the easiest thing to do would say, no, we don't want to do that, because that's a little bit more record keeping. But what we wanted to do, and I've talked to my staff, and they've embraced the concept. I think they know it's going to be more work, but if someone comes into money, some extra money, and I think of senior citizens specifically, and they want to pay $100 on their taxes in February because they have it, we should allow that. And at the end of the day, for taxing bodies, it's actually a win because we're investing money. So,
Just to follow up then, as long as you meet the due date,
Mhm.
you can make any payment you want.
correct.
If you owe $3,000 by June, whatever,
As long as you're
make it,
paid up.
you're fine. Okay.
Right. And if you came in to my office at May 15th, the system will calculate where you're at. So what you have left to pay for that first installment, right? So to keep a running total. I briefly spoke with David Giuliani this morning, and this is something that when we get it finalized, I certainly will come back and tell everybody. And it would be something that I really want to push in the media to try to get as much participation as possible. So I rely on this body as well to tell your constituents. I think this offers the most options for people. So we're really excited about it, but we're not. I can't say it's done today, but it looks pretty darn close.
Mr. Cirais.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nick, I think this is a great idea, and I think you should call it the Africano Tax Layaway Plan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just what I want to call it.
No, I think it's a great idea. It allows citizens to pay when they can afford to pay, and not that big chunk of change at the installment time. So kudos to you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Payton.
The question that I have, if you have dual property,
Mhm.
you can just choose which one you want to go on that system, right?
Absolutely. Whatever one you decide. Just it'll be all by parcel number. And then I'll come back to you later with some information that we'll have. There'll be some availability for people to manage their taxes online much better. The payment gateway will be a whole lot better. It appears that the credit card fees will be reduced. I can't say significantly, because 2.35 is sort of around there, but they'll have to go down from there to sign the deal, and I've been assured they would. And then there'll be some great tools for landlords in town who have multiple properties to be able to manage all their properties online and pay with one payment by clicking one button all the taxes on all their properties just by hitting one button online. So it's really and the system, the way it works, you cannot pay duplicates, which is incredible. That creates a lot of work in my office, creating fulfilling refunds. So to alleviate duplicates is awesome.
Mr. Zenz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nick, I just want to thank you for your efforts in this. I think this is going to go a long way for just all of us, I think, as it goes to paying taxes and maintaining properties. I think that's the idea here, is that people are going to have an easier time maintaining their property and keep those, that constant flow going forward. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. I just last thing on this is if you sit down in the office and you'll over time you'll see it. There'll be people who come in and want to pay partially on their taxes. They're not going to make the payment. They know they're going to get an interest payment. They know that their taxes might get sold. They know they're not going to be in compliance, but they're $2,000 and they have $1,200, and they would like to put that on their taxes because it'll mitigate a larger bill down the road. And the answer to that is, I'm sorry, we don't take partial payments. And I just, I don't think that's the way we should do business. So, so that'll be changing. The last thing I have is I want to say to you, Jim, and to Mike, it's been a pleasure serving with you, and thank you for all your help that you've given me.
Thank you.
George and I say thank you as senior citizens.
George didn't agree to that.
Yeah. He'll take all the recognition he can get. Next on the agenda is Steve McCarty. And as you all know, you have received all of the electronic information ahead of time so that you could peruse it. And so we'll go over our financial reports. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. If I broke it or... All right. Good morning, everyone. First off, the front of the packet is the miscellaneous financial report, sales tax, income tax, use tax, the inmate bed rental program. The sales tax number for this month and the decrease from previous year, I think last year at this time, it was such a large number. I think it was a correction of some sort. So that's kind of throwing off what the comparison number. But if you look at, the trend broken down, our trend continues as a very positive trend. So just keep that in mind as I believe, there was some type of correction because last year we received 524,000, which is a very unusual number if you look at all the other numbers. So there was some type of correction in that particular month. So the comparison's a little bit off just because of that. We go month to month and looking back. So just FYI on that.
Any questions on the sales? Yes, Mr. Lejes.
Not so much ours, but I note on the city of Kankakee that 2% really raised theirs up. It's $900,000 in 2 months, July and August. That's amazing. So I guess the citizens of Kankakee will be getting that property tax break. In installments.
Sure.
Nick's
Is that a form of a motion?
God, that's amazing.
Any questions on the sales tax? Hearing none, we'll move on.
Or any of the tax or
Any of the reports,
information.
have you got any
Not
questions
what we'll
on,
do.
comments, questions?
Right, not, we'll move on to cash flow report. Um, As Nick mentioned, you know, we made a slight adjustment, with cash, in the, report, so we appreciate Nick doing that $3 million distribution. I chose not to adjust this cash flow report because we, you know, looking at flows and you know, and when it hits in a month, and you know, we want to encourage Nick to continue to help us doing that in May, so I didn't want to take it away. Specifically, we appreciate that activity. So the total between, you know, May and end of November is, you know, follows the PTEL model and also the tax sale. Now, whether that the rest of it happens before November ends or not is yet to be seen. It will transfer to December if we need to. But so it changed it slightly, but it's also, you know, the estimates and stuff are based on the amount that we'll receive within these funds on this report. So just a FYI on that, but so that's just you know, another note. Our accounts payable, as you know, how we ended October as compared to October of 18 as compared to October of 17, and where we're at with that process. So we're in pretty good shape there. I don't know if there's any other questions or not. So
Yes.
First, a comment, that was a massive understatement, pretty good shape. It's a complete world of difference than we were a year ago. Our vendors getting paid. So are we around between 30 and 45 days? Do you think no more than 60 on most?
yeah, we've been running between 30 and 45 with the holiday. By the time the checks got there with all that, we might have crossed over. But as far as getting them printed and getting them out, yeah, we've been 30 to 45 days is about our average.
So in a general sense, most of our bills are, the claims are being processed, they're going through, they're sitting in the queue. We're approving at finance, and then the checks are cut within 30 or 45 days. The ones that go out before approval is basically payroll, utilities, and insurances. Would you say that that's a vast majority? And maybe employee travel reimbursements? The ones that are not
Expedited,
unapproved, the ones
yeah.
that are not expedited or unapproved, those come before this committee. I'm just trying to get my arms around if there are things that are paid before this committee sees it, those would be the majority of the things in the basket. Like we're not going to hold people's payroll until this committee approves it. That's silly, actually. But then the insurances, which we can't have lapse, and the expedited employee reimbursements. I mean, is there anything else I'm missing that would go out before this committee sees it? Just as a general rule.
The report and the timing. I'll review it.
Okay.
You know, what the committee's seeing, and when, you know, as far as the timing, I have not studied that. So I let me study that if you don't mind, and
Sure.
I'll report back to the committee on that
That helps.
next month. We'll do that. I'll make a note to do that. Just make sure we're all on the same page with that.
Just so the committee knows, so as we sit, Steve comes to me every time it's time to predict when, because we don't do a check run every third day. We do them a couple times a month. So we're looking at, you know, we sit and we talk and we prioritize. And so that authority to do that is coming through this board, through me, to sit with him to prioritize. And then we release those checks because we don't always, or haven't always had the money in the bank to cover everything. So it's like we're juggling, 30 balls in the air at all different times to figure out which one we can actually set down. So
Well,
that's
the
where
money
that comes
doesn't
from.
come in on a regular basis.
No, it does not. We typically wait for checks to come in, or we have over the years, until we get a reimbursement from DHS or somebody like that, and say, okay, now we can pay this bond or that bill, or pay this insurance, or so forth.
Ms. Dunbar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, number one, are you suggesting that we're gonna be, I'm speaking to Andy.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that we're gonna be paying claims, we're gonna be approving claims prior to paying them, as we've not done in the past?
I'm suggesting that we have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm suggesting that we have done in the past, we have approved claims, because when you're at 120 days, they've already gone through that cycle. So I reject that assessment. The only ones that we haven't gone through the process, and that's what Steve is gonna be bringing back, are things like payroll, which we cannot hold people's paychecks until they come to committee. The insurances that are expedited, or else employees don't have insurance, or expedited employee reimbursements for travel and utilities. So that's the vast majority. I would say my estimate, that's 99% of the ones that may have been, and there may be outliers within that. So I think that there may be an over statement by some that we're approving claims before this committee sees it. I reject that notion, actually.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, next on the agenda, interfund.
Any other questions on the cash report? Another question? All right.
In your packet is an general fund, interfund borrowing authorization that we need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion to approve it, but on the bottom it says the 4th day of December, that you changed to the 3rd day of December.
Oh, I see that. Third day, right?
Yeah, it's a third. What was that? He put it on the white, please, so it's on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve it with a correction on the bottom where it says pass and adopted on this. It should be 3rd day of December 2018.
You all get that change? It's gonna be passed on the 3rd, not the 4th. This is a housekeeping issue. We do it every year on the interfund borrowing. It's an authorization. Did I get a motion in a second?
I get
Mr.
motion.
Hess with the motion, Mr. Lejes with a second. Yes, Mr. Wheeler?
This normally we do this in January, February, after we get our year-end close. This year, we separate that into two processes. We have to authorize, and the auditor is exactly correct. It's our first opportunity in December. We have to authorize interfund borrowing so we can make payroll that following Friday. So the first meeting in December is when we authorize the next year's interfund borrowing, and then after all the run out, that's when the bills come in at the end of the year. That's when we tie up last year's interfund borrowing with a separate resolution, February, March. Steve, is that a fair time frame assessment?
Yeah, hopefully
Roughly.
by the end of January,
Yeah.
February, we'll
Because
have
we're
that.
preparing for audit at that point too, just so the committee knows that's what we need to do to be as
Did you get that
compliant as
motion in a
possible,
second?
because we can't approve this before a new board is seated. So every 2 years, this has to happen this way. Next year, we could actually do it in November if we wanted to.
This requires a roll call vote.
Mr. Lejes? Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Aye.
Mr. Zenz?
Aye.
Ms. Haas? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, the next item is the final contribution rate for 2019 for Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund for our portion. You have what the exact rates will be, as well as a comparison analysis for everybody, just to show what the trends have been. So positive trend in the regular going down from previous years. As well, stable in the SLAP and a reduction in the eco plan. So more of an FYI and answer any questions.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Yeah, as one of the newer board members, that is set by the state, those rates. We don't have anything to do with it.
By IMRF, yeah.
Thank you.
I think we should do a roll call because we are adopting this we are paying this at some point, this contribution. I thought maybe we didn't have to because it's just a state thing, but much like prevailing wage, I think we should at least do it to make sure we're covered. Have you ever done that before, Steve? Or
To my knowledge, this has just been an FYI, and the budget is of the pension fund is the
Also, we're approving
payment
it as
authorization.
we're approving it as a budget item, so this is just FYI of what included.
Yeah,
Okay,
what goes
that's
into
fine.
that,
I just
yeah.
want to make sure we
What the
didn't have to come back
calculations
around.
are.
Any other questions on the IMRF? To take a look at the total picture, you have to add 7.65 FICA to that. If you want to know the total contribution that we're making or the taxpayers make. Okay, you add that to that number. Thank you.
All right, and then the 4 copiers that went through the bid process, and we placed 4 copiers just over a month ago. This is the list of the copiers to declare surplus equipment. It's a housekeeping item, but we usually do a resolution on surplus equipment. So this is what this is here for.
I need a motion and a second to declare these 4 copiers surplus. Ms. Dunbar with a motion. Mr. Washington with a second. It's a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like same. Question by Mr. Mulcahy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Now, will these be in our annual garage sale or whatever we do with them? Is that what,
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I would say yes, but I would also like to scavenge them for parts because we still have some of these other same models here in use. And I know at different times I want to take a ball bat to the one in our office. So we might want to actually look at maybe pulling useful parts off them at some point, you know, just a couple of them, you know. Sure. But, because those parts aren't, you know.
Well, yeah, just FYI, these are some of the oldest, at least, these are 10-year plus age-wise, others, yeah, the usefulness is probably limited with the technology changes and stuff, so.
You can get rid of yours for sure.
We took a bet to it.
TBS reports.
Okay,
This one we'll need a vote.
didn't we get a vote?
I know, did you do a vote?
Did we get a vote?
Oh, you did a vote already, sorry.
Oh, wait a minute. We have a comment by Kevin.
I heard you talking about the copiers, and I believe the copier people took those 4 with them.
Okay.
That's been the process, so. Sort of.
No money.
Yeah, but that's how it's historically been done. I'm not sure, go back, but I believe that was the process that we had them take it for. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that.
so much for those parts?
Thank you, Kevin.
We'll talk later.
It's like buying a fridge.
Get $50. Okay.
All right, that one's done. All right.
Oh,
So we're on the last of the claims recommended.
for approval?
Yeah, the packet, FYI on this particular claim discussion, just keep in mind that we're talking about our credit cards, and you've received all the information that we have for discussional purposes, but please keep in mind the sensitivity of the information that you have will assist in the packets and the information of discarding if you would like us to. So just the FYI on that. But the credit card claims are here before you as they showed up without authorization for this month's payments. a little history of the credit card process. Started years ago. We use a holding account, a specific line within the general fund as a pass-through account, so that the credit card payments can be paid quickly, because the credit card company does not give us any allowance as our personal credit card. Same thing. Where our timing is no different as a government. So in an effort to pay this and not incur interest or fees or fines, the total is put into a holding account, and then as the receipts are gathered, and then it is later journal vouchered from the holding account out to the various departments or funds, the various areas where the expense took place, where the department head wanted the expense to take place in. So, that's the flow behind the scenes, and we also, at the time I was on vacation in October, we were receiving some calls from Chase, and we were having some problem with, and they wanted to put, I believe, holds, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman. And so, because I was out of town, Chairman Wheeler asked Chris Kerner in my office to assist in this, and Chris and Dublin went back and realized, they took a look and realized that the payments that we were sending with the account information on them, the checks, were not being applied correctly. So we were getting 2 applied to one and none applied to another, that sort of thing. So that's why one of the accounts was having a problem. So we went through and double checked all the payments that we sent to them. We found a total of 6, and spent a lot of time getting them, getting Chase to put them in the right spot. And we got back, at least this past month, about $730 roughly of fines and interest and stuff, once they applied it and applied the same date, time frame and everything, and got it cleared up. So at least to that extent. But as we were reviewing, we realized that there were other costs and expenses still out there, and as the analysis there of the summary, we've been incurring interest and fees. So as these claims came down, we recommended that we pay off the balance to stop the interest and the fees. And Chairman Wheeler agreed and signed the claims as you see them. But there is a difference in all 4 of them, with the auditor's recommendation to underpay 2 and overpay 1, and the other one was within a few dollars. But that the auditor's office has always done the reconciliation and of these credit card activity, and they continue to do that as an audit process of reviewing the receipts and the activity that happens from the various, all the departments, everyone that has one, and and related activities. So, so the bottom line is this got paid at the amount circled in the right, Chairman Wheeler, but it's also here for also the discussion and approval of the committee as well. So, did I miss anything?
Is there any, excuse me, is there any questions? Yes, Mr. Kinzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2 words, I'm lost.
Okay.
What is the nature of this problem? It appears it may be a problem, and we don't, it's before us, so can you summarize the problem?
I think the problem is timing. Credit card bill comes in, but then it has to go through the whole process before it's paid, at which time, correct me if I'm wrong, you've incurred a late charge.
But we haven't corrected the problem.
The timing is the problem.
Okay, so how do we correct the timing problem? What is the issue?
I think the chairman addressed that a few minutes ago when we talked about some bills don't get paid in time, and some we pay ahead of authorization. it's hard to get it through the authorization process in this committee and the full county board before you incur a late charge. Am I right?
Mr. Chairman, actually, that, on this situation, that is not the case.
Okay.
Because these bills must be paid, and they're always paid before they come to this committee, so we don't incur those charges.
The credit cards are.
The credit cards are
Yeah,
different,
they're
because
paid.
we always pay those. The auditor prepares the claim and
You
sends it
didn't
through.
include them in your comments earlier.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. So, and the credit cards are always paid ahead of the game, so we don't, every month we pay them before we get interest and fees. So it doesn't cost the taxpayer any extra money to have these credit cards. So the process on not being paid on time, that is wholly controlled within the auditor's office. The auditing of the account and the creation of the claim that goes through, and then the check is cut. That situation happened, and that's, Steve may have an idea in his discussions with the auditor, but it hasn't been documented to me where the problem has occurred in 2017 and 2018 on why we have had all these interest and fees, and why the claim that he is recommending, he's saying short pay some and overpay others. That doesn't, and then I'm looking for the documentation on why that happened and then where that is at, because we had to stop it. We couldn't have any more interest being charged. And then when the recommendation was to not approve the claims as we fixed it, to overpay some and short pay others, the interest would have kept going. So that wasn't a situation that is good for anybody. So now it's before the committee to approve those claims as he has paid them, but then also what happened? Where did all this problem come from? And because, yeah, how do we solve it? We do need to know where it came from, because that's one of the things that's audited at the end of the year, is that clearing account. And if those don't match up, that's an audit finding. That's a very serious audit finding. So we have to get to the bottom of where it happened. That's not a nice to do. That's accountability and transparency just aren't words. This is where they come into play. We have to actually do this work, and it can't be us doing it. It has to be an outside accounting firm that looks into auditing the last 2 years of the credit card bills and see where the mistakes were made, unless the auditor can tell us specifically where they were made.
Mr. Lejes.
I think you want to comment. Oh, no, but I do have a question.
Oh,
Thank you. Just for clarification, it always has been our policy or our intent to pay these off monthly and carry no balance forward, correct? That's what I remember from years ago. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have an answer as far as that, because our involvement has been to process the claims that we receive, and and then we go back when we are made aware of to correct and make sure the payments that the checks that were cut got to the right account. The reconciliation has been done within the auditor's office, so that's only a question that they can answer as far as why the ongoing expense to continue.
Mr. Lejes.
Well, where was the decision to overpay and underpay? Did Chase do that? Did we do that?
No, that with other claims, previous months have come down. The claims that we have received have been different than what the Chase statements have been as far as current balances and stuff. And
I'm trying to follow why we would underpay. If you underpay, you're gonna have a balance and cause fees and charges, right?
interest, yeah.
Well, how much in 2017, how much were the interest and fees that were charged? Did we lose?
You have a breakdown in the packet of the 2016, 2017, and 2018, what has transpired with the credit card.
So we went, in 2016, we went from having interest and fees of $164 to 2017, we went to $3,400? Is that correct?
Right, and like in 2016, for whatever reason why the interest and fee got charged, but then it was reversed, and so we got the credit, and it was basically a net zero.
So basically, it was zero in 2016 and 3,400.
No,
2,200 is the
Oh,
net total
22,
of the
okay, you
credits,
got
yeah,
credits,
so.
okay.
Mhm.
So, but we lost $2,200
Yeah, I see.
by not paying the credit cards on time.
Correct, and then we're net of 365 so far for 2018. But the way we paid this last one, we'll stop it at this point. But yeah, we've incurred $365 in expense at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, every department head has their own credit card for things that they need in their department, correct? Okay,
I guess.
that's mine. I just wanted for the new members of the
Yeah, Ms.
Well,
Haas.
and I'm fairly new to this process. Have we run into this kind of situation before? Prior to these years that you have documented?
No, no, I've not been aware, because, with the auditor, we've always processed it right away, and it just, the payments, that happens, what I mean, but that's why there's credits, because we call and get it, get stuff taken back off, so we just took the information right off the statements, and then figured out what the net, the net charge has been, and that's, so misapplying happens, unfortunately, even though we send them in separate or separate envelopes, they got their own account number on them, and it's still, I have no explanation why it takes us so long to go through that process to get it put where it belongs. So.
Mr. Lee.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. There are a few things that I think that we need to clarify. One is that interest is actually accrued daily. It's not a monthly accrual of interest and a monthly payment. And so it doesn't matter if you pay the card within 30 days or you pay it within 60 or whatever, you're still going to have some interest or fees or whatever with that. The other thing I wanted to point out is the fact that we were made aware that the remittance letter that has the barcode that should be sent with the checks wasn't getting sent, and that may have complicated the problem. Chase, and particularly, have been misapplying the payments that were sent for whatever reason. There were even some payments that were applied to individual persons' credit cards and not the main account, because we have 4 different accounts. The main account has to have the payment applied so that it reduces the balance on the account. Chase has been inappropriately applying those payments for months and months and months. I think part of the issue is from a process standpoint, we've had a lot of hands in the pot. And we went through a situation where Chase would not even work with me as a proxy on the account. They would only talk to the authorizing official, which is our chairman. And as a result of that, and there were lapses in time and all that kind of thing, that all these balances are standing out there. Our recommendation was based on the analysis that we did, which Chase would have need to reverse certain balances and then reapply them. They have always been good about forgiving fees and interest and things like that. Once the process had moved beyond us and it included the chairman and others, we had not pursued it further. There was no further communication to us other than an email that I had received back in August, I do believe, maybe September. So we haven't done anything with getting Chase to reverse payments and things like that, because our assumption was that was being done through the chairman, because obviously they decided to go a different direction with our recommendation with the claim. So I think that it's a number of issues that have caused this to kind of come to a head. Most of the responsibility, in my opinion, is with Chase. I am not pointing fingers at any specific people or departments or what have you, and it certainly isn't the auditor's office. We process the claim as soon as the statement is available, and we send it down. The only reason we recommend the adjustments is based on what we know that Chase has misapplied. And unfortunately, there is disagreement with that. And this body can do whatever you please in terms of that, but we believe that we're pretty confident that Chase has misapplied the payments for whatever reason, whether it was the remittance letter or it was some other internal issue. And then the other issue I would say is when they converted the cards, the credit card provider, there's significant problems with that whole conversion process. And that may have also caused some issues, which is part of the reason why about a year ago or so, we started sending individual checks, because all of the checks the payments used to be one check, and every account number was on that check. And then supposedly that was the problem. And so we fixed that, and then we started having problems again. So I don't think that this is a county problem, despite how it's being presented. I believe that it is a Chase problem, and they have been in the past very good about reversing those payments, reversing those charges, those fees, and so forth. But there is certainly, I think there will certainly be a little bit of interest, though, because there is a daily accrual of interest on any credit card. Everyone's personal credit card, you know, you have a daily accrual of interest as well, and a lot of the time. So,
Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm like Mr. Kinzinger. I'm a little bit lost on here.
Mike.
So on this claim,
Mike.
On this claim here, it was for $4,935.06. Somebody hand wrote $4,902. And the auditor recommend payment $1,916.81. I mean, that's $3,000 difference. And I mean, I'm not good at math or anything like this. And if we're saying it's Chase problem, have we any documentation that says Chase messed this up, or what's? I mean, I'm lost. Somebody explain that page to me.
I'm just running the meeting, so I'll turn to
Okay, I address this to Mr. McCarty then.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the total was changed. The 4902 and the 3306 add up to the amount, which does tie to the, yeah. So that's where the change came in. Again, you know, the grace period. There is a grace period, as we all have on our own credit cards. You know, if you get your payment there within a certain amount of time, once you get your bill, there is no interest charged. So we have that same grace period. Again, I don't have an answer for you why the recommendation amount versus the amount that was on.
If I got my credit card bill and it was $4,900 and I sent $1,900, somebody's going to be screaming.
Mr. Chairman.
And that's why before this committee, I had to make the decision to authorize the payment at those amounts to stop the bleeding. And somebody, if they agree with that on this committee, should make the motion to authorize the payment of those.
I'll make that.
Can I go my follow up though?
Sure.
Pardon, sure.
Well, I asked, you know, Chase, if they're wrong, do we have any documentation where Chase is wrong? Or I mean, if we're saying Chase is making these, Chase is pretty big. And I can't believe they can make that many mistakes, but maybe they do.
I'll double check mine at home, but I haven't had any problem like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the whole premise that many of you remember when we set this up was to get it paid, and then because of that timing and the expense, to get it paid, and then figure out the problems if there are any after the fact, and then whether it's with the department, with Chase, you know, but not to incur the cost. So get it paid first, and then worry about the, you know, whatever we have to deal with after the fact. So that was always the understanding and the approach.
I have a motion on the floor, Mr. Kinzinger. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Mr. Legess with a second. We're paying money? Okay. It's a roll call vote.
Mr. Legess?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Aye.
Mr. Zenz?
Aye.
Ms. Haas? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries. I think further explanations are coming up as we go along.
Well, you got another one, right?
That's all I had. I just wanted to thank the outgoing board members as well. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Steve, been a pleasure working with you over the years, back when I was chairman and we had all those things going on. God,
There's always things going on, isn't there?
when we couldn't pay the bills.
Did we do both of these?
Sheriff's Department.
Chairman, did we do all of the Chase bills or just that one? I mean, there's another one in the packet for $7,573 and we only paid $51.24.
I think we just authorized the chairman to pay them all.
I didn't hear all of them, that's what that's my question.
I think
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Is that what your motion was?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
All of
I just wanna make
Mr.
sure
Majeski
we're,
with a second, okay, so we're gonna clear the board, pay the bills, and, stop the bleeding. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Legette.
What does that do to the future paying credit card? Is the chairman authorized to pay him or what?
Move your mic closer.
Yeah, Mr. Legette with a question.
Yeah, I said we took care of these, but in the future, is the chairman authorized to pay the credit cards, or does it go to the auditor, come back to the chairman, and then he sees that only so much is recommended, or what? How is that gonna be? How's that handled?
Mr. Chairman.
It goes back to the way that it normally is. We should be at zero with, as far as any old bills out there, no interest or fees accumulating. So the process, we're starting from scratch again at zero for all account balances. So before they were paid, and then if there were any issues, they go back to, you know, the auditor gets a hold of the department head and says, you know, it'd be documentation, but the bill is still paid, because he submits that claim through the system. We don't want to have any interest or fees for these cards.
So in the future, all credit cards will be paid when they come in, and then if there's any question, it'll go after that.
As it is now.
Right. Thank you.
And Mr. Sirois, did you have a question?
Yeah, Mr. Legesse, I think that's the only way we can do it, because once the credit card is used, we can't stop that money that was spent. So we need to pay that bill, and if it was spent without authorization or without a policy or something that was broken, that department head is gonna have to take care of that with the auditor going forward, after the fact that the bill has been paid.
And my understanding is, if you have a balance and you pay that balance, there is no interest charges. Okay, that's the way my personal accounts are. That's my only experience, is my personal accounts. So when I get a bill, I gotta pay that bill. Otherwise, I pay interest, okay?
I'm glad you could pay it on time.
That's the way it is here. Have we got any other questions on the credit card issues? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the sheriffs.
Good morning.
good morning.
Update on our jail population. Our out-of-county numbers in November, we're averaging about right at 381 out-of-county detainees. October was 377, and for the year, we're averaging 352. Our local population, which we have talked about previously, and where that number has gone, has dipped slightly over the course of the last month, but it's still significantly higher than it has been. Questions on?
Any questions? Ms. Dunbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Does the out-of-county number include all out-of-county contracts, just for clarification?
It includes everything, U.S. Marshal, Cook County, and
thanks.
ICE. The new squad lease, Steve actually included in your packet, or in his packet rather, the lease quotes for 11 new squad cars. We received 3 quotes, one from GM, one from Homestar Bank, and one from People's Bank. And People's Bank came in with the best rate at 3.37. And our cars should be here within a week or two, is what I've been told. I think so.
Mr. Hess with the motion. And Mr. Chairman.
That'll be the second.
Second.
Just a quick comment. Ford no longer leases vehicles that aren't their vehicles.
Correct.
I just want to explain, because
Yeah, we have in the past, Ford, we have gone through Ford Motor Credit, and Ford no longer provides leases to, if you're not buying a Ford.
Oh, Mr. Mulcahy with a second. This is a roll call.
Mr. Legess? Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Aye.
Mr. Zenz?
Aye.
Ms. Haas? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Mr. Sirois.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, how many squads are you gonna retire when you receive these new vehicles?
At this point, we're gonna evaluate each of them as we go. Some of them are really on their way out the door.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend, I know that we've in the past have utilized some for other departments, and we would certainly be willing to help with that, but, you know, two, I guess, according to the chairman. So we'll, you know, obviously do what we can to get some cars that will at least function, but it should be known that, you know, so far on non-routine maintenance alone, we've spent over $100,000 on repairing, and this group going out now will be the 2012s. We still have 13s that are really right behind them in wear and tear. So the sooner that we can make up and continue that cycle of, you know, not going 150,000 miles, you know, not only do you benefit from the trade, but you benefit from not having the maintenance cost as well, as you will well know.
Any other questions?
I have two more things. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen the news over the past day or two, where our deputies responded to a child who was deceased. And I can't tell you how painstaking it is to deal with something like that when you have a 14-month-old child. And our deputies responded. The investigators took over, and you know, those cases are so hard to determine sometimes the cause of death. Fortunately, our coroner, who's in the back of the room, and our state's attorney were both involved. The coroner's office expedited the autopsy so that results could come in as our investigators were questioning the offenders, and without that happening, I mean, who knows what we would have, you know, been able to come up with. So credit to Bob and his staff, and Eric's back there as well. The state's attorney's office was involved as well. Jim Rowe was there as well. So those are never easy for anybody. We have, just so you're aware, we have offered services and counseling to our staff, and obviously making it available. Sometimes we in this business think we're not suited for that we should be above that, but we all know that, you know, we're not. So we've certainly made that offer to them, and fortunately, with the cooperation of both the coroner and the state's attorney's office, our deputies and our investigators, two people who are should be in jail are in jail. So, and lastly, you've also probably seen over the last week or so, we've had some generous donations. One from Mrs. Weber, and the pies that she gave every staff member that we have from on down. Thank you. That was, and I know that they're getting something together to send back to you. We now have about 5 officers that can't pass the physical fitness test now because of the pies, but they were, it was such a nice gesture for all of our staff, and you know, they truly felt appreciated, and thank you for your kind donation to our staff. They greatly appreciated it. And I know Pat's not here, but Pat McConnell also provides Thanksgiving dinner to not only our staff, both corrections and the jail, or corrections and the deputies, but also to many other first responders throughout the county. And, you know, for those that have to work and not be with their families, it's nice that they can sit down and eat a good Thanksgiving dinner, and hopefully they don't have to chase anybody that afternoon. So, but thank you. And again, as others have said, to those board members who are who are outgoing, thank you, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. And we'll always be around if you need something.
Very good, Chair.
Yeah.
You know,
Payton.
before this year is coming to an end, and I want to publicly thank Mr. Searod, Mrs. Welber, and Sheriff Downey for serving my part of the community in District 2. I know over the 4 years that I've been here, Mrs. Welber and Mr. Searod has been real active in taking care of St. Anne's basketball team, which I would say 80% of them come from Pembroke. And then the sheriff, just recently, he started a baseball team out there. And I just appreciate it. And thank you all very much.
It was as much fun for me as it was for the kids.
You weren't gonna get any good words, see? Okay, next on the agenda, Mr. Lee with our monthly claims. And you have that report in front of you, and we'll put it on file. We'll need a voice vote. Do I need Mr. Payton with a motion, Mr. Seroy's with a second? Oh, Ms. Haas with a second, was it? I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
All right.
I just did that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Haas with a question. I'm sorry.
Actually, a comment. There's 2 payments on there to my organization, so for those I would abstain from voting. The rest I'm good with.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second, and it's a voice vote, so roll call? Let's do a roll call, okay.
Mr. Legess?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Aye.
Mr. Zenz?
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. There are just a few things that I would like to kind of point out with the claims report. One is that we did note that there were 3 claims that came through that we found to be what we'll call flawless, and so we did want to highlight those. A lot of times, you know, people only hear what's wrong from our office, and so we often we do want to try to start highlighting some of those claims that happened to be Department 700, it's the sheriff's office, and wanted to note those. As I sat in the back, I did want to kind of clarify, because it seemed like there was some alluding to some positions that I hold when it comes to the claims report, and I did want to just clarify a few things. The claims report, as you receive it, is a listing of checks that have already been signed, sealed, and in many cases delivered, and you approve that after that activity has taken place. So my position is that we're not authorized to do that, whether it's myself or the treasurer or the county clerk or whoever is responsible for mailing those checks out. And unless there exists somewhere a county board resolution where the county board has delegated its authority to a person or persons to expense money or disperse money rather out of the county treasury on the behalf of the board prior to the board's meeting. And to my knowledge, no such resolution exists. That's why I hold the position that I hold. I think that's a process thing that just simply can be cleaned up by an act of this body. But nonetheless, I think that puts us out of compliance because, Board Member Haas, who abstained from the disbursement, is still abstaining after the disbursement after already taken place. Because there's a check number there. That means the disbursement has taken place. So my contention is that the county board needs to either delegate its authority to individuals or whoever they want to, an individual, to make those disbursements, or we should cease the practice. So that's my position. I just want to clarify that. So other than that, you have before you, there were some questions about what some of the charts and graphs mean that I've received. And I just want to kind of go over some of this stuff. Again, these are all disbursements. The claim summary report is what I created shortly after I got here a couple of years ago to give a running total of each month. When I do the report, I take the number I get at the time I run the report.
Ms. Dunbar.
Oh, does she? Oh, okay, yes.
Ms. Dunbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Yes, ma'am.
In regard to my earlier question to Mr. Wheeler then, just for clarification purposes, we're approving a claims report for 10/1 through 10/31. So the month of October, these checks were cut. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And so if I had a problem with check number 0093783 for $3,000 to the Meyer Law Group for a retainer, which is a law firm in Chicago, and I have no idea what that's cut for, it doesn't matter because that's already been paid. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Again, I plead ignorance. However, we're a county board.
Mike.
Use your mic.
We're a county board who
Speak into the mic, please.
we're a county board who elected a chairman to perform and act on behalf of this board. I think the state allows for that chairman to make decisions on our behalf, and we have the right to question anything that he does or to terminate his position. So I'm not certain where you're coming from when you say, to your understanding, there is no, let's see, I think you worded as your item C under recommended as far as we know, there is no existing resolution that delegates the authority of the board to a person or persons other than the board. I think we've already done that. What is different? What are you saying differently than I just said?
Well, I respectfully disagree with you. I don't think that appointing a chairman is the same as the board delegating its authority to disperse funds from the county treasury. I don't think that's the same thing, in my opinion.
Ms. Dunbar.
Just as a follow-up, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I don't agree either. I was elected by the people of the county and by my district to represent their interests in spending county money. Mr. Chairman was elected by the members of this body, and I respect that, but if I question something or have something that I want to abstain from, the city council does it every time. They don't cut checks until they go through the process, and they regularly have council members abstain. It's a small community. People like Ms. Haas have conflicts, and I think it's a poor practice in our part.
Mr. Sirois.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Lee, for your added input. But I think what the biggest thing is we let the department heads run their department. We set their budget, and if their budget falls, if they go above their budget, like Miss Dunbar, I don't know who hired the lawyer, but I'm sure it's some department head. You know, and that's and that's where the problem lies with the department head and their spending of their budget money. We set the budget. So that's where our part comes in. And the departments, I don't want to micromanage every department. I don't know if everybody in this room wants to, but I want to let these people run their department, let the experts run their department, and do that part of it. And we authorize the budget and give them how much money they can run their department. So I don't know where the discussion is, and we're picking and choosing what we can pull out, but it's truly on the department head, in my opinion. I don't know if that's the opinion of the committee, but that's my opinion. It's their budget. So, and we set it.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay, excellent. So going back to some of these, and basically I just try to graphically display the data so that it's easy to follow and you can identify trends and things like that. The biggest thing to note is when it comes to special funds on that claims report, the large portion of that, probably close to 50%, is always going to be Fund 900, which is your payroll clearing, and that's a special fund that is, that's where the payroll wire comes out of. But then, similar to the credit card situation, it'll then be journal vouchered to the appropriate areas, whether it's general fund or some other special revenue fund or what have you. Or excuse me, payroll clearing is a department. It's not a special fund, but it kind of shows up as a in this report as a special fund. So anyway. All right. Well, okay. The other one, again, it's just a year to date. We just run a year to date report right out of the accounting software of claims that have been paid, and it's just a graphical representation of that, where you can see the excuse me. I was in Florida last week, so I'm readjusting to the climate here. But you can see the trend from FY14 to 18, and so I just want to graphically represent that data for you. And then the other one is just a comparison in October month to month, and sometimes you'll see that the cash is different, and that just depends on how the years fall. If there's the big one again is payroll. If there's a 3-month payroll, or if we actually have more money, which in the past, before like 15, 16, that kind of thing, there was more money, and so obviously more was spent as well. I beg your pardon?
You said the 3-month payroll. The payroll would be more than 2 paid in a month, not 3 months.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, or I meant a 3 payroll month is what I meant. Yes, thank you. So sometimes that will distort the data for that particular month. So you can't always look at a month-to-month comparison and think it's a true, 30 days, same type of expenditures, because it may not be, simply because of the timing of how the weeks fall and that type of thing.
And I think we get that in that cash flow report.
Yes.
Yep.
So anyway, I did want to just briefly go through some of those because I did receive some questions about them, and that's basically how I structure the report and what the intent is for it. And anyone at any time is always invited to come to our office or meet with me or whatever, and we can discuss it in more detail. All of the reports will be or already online, and you can view them at your leisure at any time, because we want to make sure that that information is available to the public as well. So with that, I really don't have any other comments, unless there's any further questions.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lee, we gave you an increase in your budget so you can give your employee a raise, but we haven't seen an adjustment form for that employee's pay. Is that forthcoming before December 1st?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I will get that in.
Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Do you have anything that would help with this credit card issue?
Well, I think that some of the issues have already, Mr. Chairman, been done. I know that one of the problems was that remittance needs to get sent with the checks, and I believe that that's done. I can't speak 100% to that, but I believe that that's done. I strongly believe that our credit card provider, as evidenced by, I believe there were 2 or 3 checks that even came back to the county. And during the time that those checks did not get cashed by the vendor, we were accruing fees and interest, which again, Chase is very good about reversing that stuff. But the fact that it happened and the check was either never applied or in many cases misapplied, that is a Chase problem. That is not a county problem, other than the remittance issue that I believe that was corrected. So,
but I understand that they did give us a correct a credit for that.
Well, I know that there was somewhere, I wasn't involved in that stuff. I know that there was some work done because there were 2 accounts where the balances had gotten outrageous. And we've sent payments every single month, and it made no sense for those balances to have gotten as high as they got. One account was almost to the credit limit, which I'll leave undisclosed, but if anyone wants to know what the credit limits are, I can tell you. And they never get that high. That is an anomaly. It just does not happen. And so the simple answer is the payments were misapplied. And why they were misapplied, you have to drill down beyond that. We were sending 4 checks as they requested. 3 months ago, we actually sent them an analysis sheet, or at least we submitted with the claim an analysis sheet to say what accounts they need to adjust and where, so that the next month's payment would be the correct amount and would be reflected on the credit card statement. The corrections were not made by Chase. The sheet was ignored, assuming that it was sent. And I don't know how you can fix that when you've done all you can on your part, and they still misapply. There is one credit card in particularly, and what the cardholder happens to be in this room, where the card was applied to his credit card, the individual's card, and not to the account. So you can't fix that from this side.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Suraj.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lee, do you think maybe those problems could be fixed by doing online payments? So that you're actually visualizing the account that you're applying the money to?
You know, we asked about online payments, and Chairman Wheeler might remember probably a year and a half ago or something like that. I believe the problem then was they want access to your bank to go in and grab the money, as opposed to us sending it. And we felt that that was highly inappropriate to do as a governmental body. And then, of course, we lost the EFT ability because of our bond rating. And so, you know, that option wasn't an option. But now that we are coming around and being in a better position financially, perhaps it's something to explore, assuming that we can do more as an EFT rather than providing them with our bank information and they pull the money when it's due.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking maybe that would clear up some of those, you know, misguided accounts or misguided money through Chase. Maybe we can get a better eyes on it.
Exactly right. Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, Mr. Hess, I'm sorry.
Thank you again, Chairman. Good morning, Jake.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, I asked this question before. If Chase is making mistakes, what do we have to document that they've made the mistake? Or is it, and I'm not a real good computer man, but if we're not sending that barcode in there, is maybe part of that is the barcode, because everything is electronic anymore. They scan everything. Do you think possibly that's where Chase was, under your opinion, Chase making a mistake because we didn't do something right on our end?
you know, that portion of it, the actual mailing of the checks, I can't speak to because I don't know what's actually in the envelopes. I don't do that. But we were told, and when I say we, the auditor's office was told that the remittance, which has the barcode, was not sent with the checks. So I can only assume, based on that information, that may have been part of the problem. And I believe that that's since been corrected. And hopefully going forward, we won't have this issue anymore. But I do believe the majority of the problem is a Chase problem.
I look back and I see that $2,600 in interest. You know, that's a lot of money. Sorry, I said I look back and see the $2,600 in interest. That's a lot of money we spent on interest.
And frankly, I believe that if we can get the information corrected or correctly presented to Chase, that they'll reverse it. Their past practice has shown that they will reverse those interest and fee charges that are not legitimate. And in our opinion, a lot of those are not legitimate, and they just accrued based on the fact that they didn't receive payment, whether it was they sent the check back to us. If they sent it back to us, we don't know the reason, but they did not receive payment, and it was not received at the time it was due, and so they charge interest. But if you can show that you cut a check, you sent a check, and all of that legwork, their past behavior has demonstrated that they'll reverse the charges. Where that process is now, I cannot speak to, but it's.
But the measure of that is from 2017, we got $2,276 in 2017 that we spent on interest.
But there was a period of time though where we did, and I forgive me, I don't remember exactly when, but I remember there was a period of time because we had to, if I remember correctly, skip a IMRF payment, and during that time that we short paid Chase, or we paid the minimum for a couple of months. There was something screwy we did that really that put us in that situation. So those are probably legitimate from 17, because that was a tough time period that we had there.
Just a question on, or more of a statement on process. And if I'm incorrect in any of this, please straighten me out. Claims come into the auditor's office. In this case, the claim is created in the auditor's office, goes to finance, treasurer cuts the check, then all of that stuff comes back up to the auditor's office, and then it's mailed. Who does the actual mailing?
As far as I know, the finance department mails it under the county clerk's envelope.
Okay, so you're saying that when it left your office, it has the barcodes on it and everything, and then that wasn't included in the final mailing?
Yeah, the barcode's part of the statement. Yes.
So the finance removed it before they sent it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I find that unlikely, but I will talk to Steve about that and see if that's part of their practices. So.
Any other questions for the auditor?
Okay, well, have a good day, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Moving on. In your packet, you have a, well, there's a copy up here anyway. We have the International Union of Operating Engineers and in the county, the union agreement.
Is your mic on?
Pardon?
Your mic on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. We have someone here to explain this. Okay.
I'll do my best.
Pardon?
I'll do my best.
All right, good. Graham, you're on. So we have a union agreement to approve.
You want a motion before we go into discussion?
Yeah.
Pardon? Okay. Motion to approve by Mr. Legess. Ms. Dunbar with a second. Discussion.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. This is the last union contract that was left outstanding with the highway department. So the negotiation team sat down. We got a new 4-year agreement. Mr. Rogers was happy, as was the union, with most of the terms in the previous agreement. So what's in your packet were the 5 changes that they requested, and we went back and forth a little bit on. The short version is the salaries for the employees in the highways department are going to raise by 2% every December and 1% every June. There's a new certification, HMA. I'm sure Mark can help me out with what exactly that is. Something to do with asphalt, I believe. But that's a new designation that an employee can get. And they get
hot mix asphalt,
you
level
go.
1 and 2.
So an employee gets a 50 cents raise if they get that certification. And then they are allowed to use the vacation, personal time, or comp time should inclement weather prevent them from doing their jobs, and there's nothing else that Mr. Rogers has for them to do that day. So with that,
Mr.
entertain any
Legess.
questions.
Just a comment, I was on the negotiating team with Mr. Tripp, and I'd like to thank the operating engineers that represented their union at the table. I think we set a record. We did the contract in about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
They were very, very cooperative, and it made it very easy to get done.
Very
So,
smooth process.
Yeah,
We're
thank
grateful
you to
for it.
them.
Mr. Chairman.
Along those lines, the terms are fairly consistent as far as the financial with all of the other agreements that we've had this year. It's been historic, the partnership that we've had here with our labor partners. So that everybody's kind of in the same boat, if you will, financially, that are under our purview, if you will, the county board. It's very, very similar, and the length of the contracts. Usually we're dealing with back pay. And then we're dealing with, everybody's has different numbers, and it's very hard to manage. This is very similar. They realize that we're still not in a great position, but we're better than we were. And this also allows us to not have to, we can implement this for the first paycheck in December if we approve it on the 3rd. So we won't have back pay for any time in this year. So
Makes our accounting process much easier.
much easier.
One last thing I'll say is I received the full contract yesterday around 3:30, 3:45. You'd have that if I had a chance to look through it, but I haven't had a chance just to read through it, make sure it's all correct as opposed to what we negotiated. So you'll have that for full county board. I have no reason to doubt the union there, but I just want to trust but verify, right? So.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. It's a roll call vote.
Mr. Legess?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Aye.
Mr. Zenz?
Aye.
Ms. Haas? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion
passes. Next on the agenda is the fuel station update, cost sharing, and Mr. Rogers, I believe. Good morning, Mark. Good morning.
Good morning. We at the Highway Department run the fuel station at 801 South Schuyler. We have some antiquated equipment down there that needs to be upgraded and replaced. I brought this before the Highway and Buildings Committee. In your packet, there should be a one title Kankakee County fuel updates. We need to get an update and replace our leak detection monitoring system. This system is probably 20 years old, and the company that actually makes it is out of business, and so we're hopeful that this thing will last until we get it replaced. If that monitoring system goes down, we have to close the fuel station. Fire marshal notifies us and we just have to close it. The other thing we need to do is the fuel island terminal that allows all the other departments to access it. That system we acquired in the year 2000. Just to give you an example, the computer is so old, it's a dot matrix printer, and that's the only printer it will use. So yes, we do need to update that also. And the last is fuel pumps. Our fuel pumps have been there since before I was employed, which was 33 years ago. We are, yeah.
Call the pickers.
It's hard to find parts when one malfunctions. So as you can see there, those improvements cost around $71,574. That's an estimate. the highway department has absorbed all the costs for maintenance, for inspection of the tanks. We've put manways in so that those tanks are accessible. We've picked up all those capital costs. And so I came to the committee and just asked if we could maybe share that cost with all the departments that use the fuel station. So on this form, which I think is in your packet, it shows the gallons used by each department, unleaded and diesel, with the totals, and then the percent of the total that that department uses. So as you can see there, it splits out. For instance, I did learn something here. The highway department only uses 32% of that fuel that goes through that fuel station. So you know, for using 32% and we're paying, you know, 100% of all the costs, I mean, I'm just asking for that. And so there was a question about, well, we need to maybe look at, Mr. Kinzinger asked if we could look at and study, are we saving any money doing this? So we ended up doing a little study, tried to keep it simple as we could. The top is the current maintenance costs for 2017, 2018, average a year $5,700. We do have to do the underground tank inspection every 5 years, and you can see the cost in 2013 was $11,000. We just had one this spring for $12,900, and then we have to have 2 more. We tried to do a 10-year projection just to see how much we save in 10 years. The next one is the average costs. Our fuel price is there, and then the pump price is in the next columns. So you can see we save about probably between, we did a study some years ago just trying to make sense of where the costs were, and we were saving between 30 and 80 cents a gallon getting it ourselves. So as you can see, if you go down, you can see that in 10 years, we probably saved over $700,000. So we're gonna get that $71,000 probably turn around in 1 year. We'll make that cost up. So it was recommended that be brought to this committee to see if our recommendation that all the departments share in that cost and get it approved by the finance department.
Ms. Dunbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How is that, I don't know who to direct this question at, because Mr. Rogers probably may not know the answer. How will that affect the budget that we've already approved in terms of each department?
They'll have to fit it in.
I guess maybe the question is, have the other departments seen this? Are they aware of it?
I'll answer that. No, they are not. I brought it before the Highway and Buildings Committee just to see if I was out of line.
Right.
So no, the other departments do not have this information.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Is the sheriff still here?
No.
Oh, man, this was gonna be fun. Because he's really, the sheriff's department is the other major.
Oh, the coroner's
Yeah.
You got township, you got park district.
Yeah, that's shared to the ones that aren't county departments, you know, so, I will say that I think that's a fair approach. I will say that the revenue and expense that we have within the sheriff's department should be able to absorb that. You know, I don't think we're gonna have a problem. We will obviously talk to them about that. If any budget adjustments need to be made, we'll make them. You know, yeah, that's where, cause we always do like amendments mid-year anyway, as we see things coming down, how they're gonna happen, so.
This is a fair approach.
I think so.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
You know, where it was in that.
I understand.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the price per gallon analysis, by the way. It helps break that out a little bit, so you can see on every gallon, there's a penny in there for, you know, the fuel station, the tank inspection. You know, so it's still spread on what we can buy it for, and then, you know, it being in the ground, that's the other side of it. It's public safety not to have to, we always have access to fuel. Middle of the night, you know, we always have access to this fuel. Middle of the night, when something's not open, the right kind of diesel, because we talked about that. If you put the wrong kind in, it'll gel the engine. So there is other reasons beyond cost to have our own fuel in the ground.
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Chairman. Mark, is there any reason that this can't be done in this time of the year? If we go through the maintenance, like with the detection system and everything, are they gonna be able to be put in?
We'll probably have to go to letting just because of the cost. That was an estimate that we got from our current vendor, who's Pemco. So, yeah,
But I mean,
we're gonna get on
They could do the
this.
maintenance at this time of the year, can't they?
Sure.
With ground being what it is?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Lear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The three different, I see possibility of 3 different projects. Will this all be done at one time, or is it possible, if needed, it could be done 3 separate steps?
We're gonna check that out. For sure, the pumps will have to be let, but we may have to attack things in phases, but I'm gonna try to get it all done at once.
Mr. Serois?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, I think maybe you should get some Slim Jims and some energy drinks over there for your gas station, because most gas stations have those kind of things.
Well, by usage, maybe there should be donuts. I'll be hearing about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You may get a phone call right away on that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Mr. McCarty.
Yeah, just looking at the list, it's the first time I've seen it. FYI, for the committee, it's about a $40,000 potential shift to the general fund that we did not budget for. We were not aware of when we did the budget.
So, yeah, just to follow up, this is going from the highway budget to the general fund budget. Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Could this be considered infrastructure?
Capital improvement?
Yeah.
Yes.
We might have money for that because of the whole money for courthouse fund can only be used on capital, so that may not need to hit the general fund. I'll talk to Steve about that.
Okay.
Well, Steve, were you talking about the fuel cost shift? No?
If you look at the departments and the percent and the cost breakdown, and I was just, assuming, first thought was the general fund because of those departments where the majority of their expense lands.
Those departments are funded by the general fund.
Correct.
And he's been funding it through the highway fund, okay? So now it would be a general fund expense.
Or
Okay.
we'll have to look into more detail what type of capital this is and whether it can or not,
Well, you have two issues there. You have one issue is the repairs, and then you have the issue of the fuel itself. Okay.
Well, yeah, the fuel is already dispersed accordingly. This is strictly a project related.
Okay.
What I'm getting at is we may be able to put it into that capital expenditure that was part of the money that we got from Will County that can only be spent on infrastructure improvements. So it won't have to hit the budgets of those departments. Does that make sense? So we might be able to have a way around this with that line. That's why it's sitting there. It's for the courthouse and for things like this, like the boiler out at schools that we had to do, which was what, 60,000? So
Do we
that's
need a
what it's for.
motion to put the bid out, or?
Are you at that point?
No, highway.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's gotta go back to highway.
Yeah, it'll go back to
and do
highway.
a bidding, okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Gessner?
I'd just like to thank Mark and all of your crews for what you do, and we're available at 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Not to find a gas station, we can go right down there and get it. It's always, there's no soft drinks there, I understand. No iced tea, but normally I thank you for what you did, and the coroner's office is behind you on that. We'll pay whatever we have to pay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about the fuel thing? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
The next thing on our agenda is you've each received a news release, and we need to review that just for a minute, and I'll turn this over to the chairman for that. you got yours?
Sure. The
There's
audit
one right.
engagement letter.
Yeah.
That's the first step, the audit engagement letter. Does everybody have that?
No, I'm talking about the news release.
Oh, okay, I apologize, I was talking to Mr. Hess. This, I just want to bring it to the committee's attention, and, for the third year in a row, the Government Finance Officers Association has awarded, the county, and specifically the finance department, the highest award they have in terms of, in the spirit of full disclosure, to clearly communicate its financial story, motivate potential users and user groups to read the CAFR, which is the explanation of our audit. This is a transparency award. This is something that, by the way that we put together and disseminate the information of our audit, to make it both usable and understandable to the public. And this is a big deal. This isn't like a little deal. This is, it shouldn't be minimized by anybody, the extent of this achievement and the depth of it. So, first of all, I want to congratulate Steve and his department for the work they do to make this process as transparent and open to the public as possible, and for having that consistent high level and high standard that they meet and have for the last 3 years. And as I joked with earlier, even 3 years ago when the numbers were awful, at least they were understandable and accurate. And now that they're much better, at least they're now it's much better. We don't have physical repulsion when we look at it. We're able to at least put that out there, and people have a resource online because we are transparent. We do broadcast meetings. We do make this information available to everybody. So I just want to say thank you to Stephen and the whole department.
Yes. Next on our agenda is the audit engagement letter. We'll need a motion and a second, and if we want to go to discussion, Mr. Washington with a motion, Mr. Legesse with a second. Discussion? This is a housekeeping traditional thing we do every year. So if we're spending money. Any questions, Mr. Kinzinger?
Yes, Smith, Kelling, Dykstra, and Ohm are the auditors for the county, and I assume that is put out for bid every 3 to 5 years to see if they stay competitive with other auditors.
Mr. Chairman?
We do, I don't know if they actually was put out to bid before. I know that there was another arrangement signed in 2016, and I believe it was a 3-year
3
deal.
years.
And that it might have been 15 for the 16 year. But this is a 1-year agreement. This is off of that. I do agree that we should check from time to time, and I would recommend that we do look at that on a bid process, but we do that for the following year. We're already in the cycle, and I will say that there is a lot of upfront costs that you absorb when you do go to another company, but you do need to check. And so, just like with health insurance, you gotta look around, but if you keep jumping, it ends up costing you more. So I would say that after this audit is complete, I'd recommend doing it now. But then we also go earlier, we bid next year, and say maybe in October, we send out a letter, request for proposals.
I think there's an interesting comment behind that too by May, Cocken, and King that talks about I think I got that name right, I don't know. Mr. Mulcahy's looking at me like I didn't, but, oh.
I was giving Mike a sideways glance.
Oh. I would, Mr. McCarty.
Yeah, I believe it was 2014 when we did the last bid process for the outside audit.
Okay.
So we usually have gone 5 or so years, but they did do a 3-year plan when we were going through the toughest times, with us. So.
And Steve, you would be the one to address the issue of their cooperation and how you interact with that accounting firm.
Yeah, do you want me to comment on it, or
yes.
Is there a question? Or
Your
yeah,
comment.
Yeah, we've interacted with them very well. They're a partner as well as all the departments are. In the CAFA report, the year-end report, and part of the award that we received that we're very happy to receive on behalf of the board, and all the departments. So they've been a partner in that, worked with us professionally as well, on those issues, as well as, any changes. We have a new GASB statement, a change for, you know, post-employment benefits and stuff. So, you know, we work with them on all types of issues like that.
Mr. Chairman.
I just want to say that they are a partner in the process, but they put us through our paces. This is not a cakewalk or a pie walk, Ms. Weber. This is that we are under the gun, and we have to really go into a lot of depth on some of these questions. Steve will attest to that. So they're just not telling us what we want to hear. This is a true professional auditing organization that doesn't cut us any breaks, doesn't give us any slack, nor should they, or ethically can they. Just want to mention that. So I didn't want to minimize their role as an outside auditor. They can't be part of our internal processes. No outside entity can be part of our internal processes, but we hear from them. And believe me, there's things that we have to correct on a yearly basis that comes back to this committee. So,
Any other comments or questions? Miss Weber.
Thank you. I just wondered if the price increased from last year.
3%.
Thank you.
And if I could, we also rolled the health department, and I want to say maybe 911 is in here as well.
911.
Yeah, I believe it's 911 and the health department is all part of one process now.
Okay.
Instead of them just being
Instead
spun
of-
off on their
okay.
own, we're trying to help them control costs as well.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? It is a roll call vote.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, motion and second.
Okay. Thanks for the great information.
Mr. Lejes?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Aye.
Mr. Zenz?
Aye.
Ms. Haas? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next up is State's Attorney's Appellate Prosecutor Program. Graham, are you on this? No? Anybody have any questions?
No, this is something there.
Motion approved.
Oh, Mr. Wheeler with a motion, Ms. Dunbar with a second. Discussion?
Yeah. it's-
Any discussion? Questions? Okay. Are we spending money here? Okay. Okay. Then there'll be a roll call vote.
Mr. Lejes? Mr. Vickery? Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Aye.
Mr. Zenz?
Aye.
Ms. Haas? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And next up, our CSL bearing planning study. I would defer to the chairman.
Thank you. This is just an FYI. The enterprise zone is picking up the tab for a transportation, streetscaping, first part of a planning study for that whole corridor around CSL. They are an online account with the county. You may have heard of these online and offline accounts lately. They're one that is online, that was brought online some years ago, but if you see a claim go through the system, realize that that is money collected from the enterprise zone fund and is dispersed through the county, so there is no taxpayer dollar, if you will, going towards that from the county general fund. Just more of an FYI, in case it shows up on a claims report. Yeah.
Is that the extent of that report,
Yeah,
sir?
that's it.
Okay,
Just so
very
people
good. Do we have any old business to go before this committee? Mr. Lejet?
I just want to remind everybody, and I thought in years past, we always got a letter from this county clerk about the reorganizational meeting on December 3rd for the whole board. But I've not gotten one. Maybe Dan was on vacation and that didn't go, but the other thing is I'd like to thank you for your years of service. I was on different committees with you, and I know that you were a dogged member as far as finance goes for the county, and you sometimes weren't very popular, but I know you always did what you thought was the right thing, and it was an honor for me to serve with you, Jim, and to learn from you too. And the other thing I'd like to say is my seatmate here, it took me many months to train him how to second an adjournment. So with him being gone, I will be taking applications. And Roger Hess and I will now be the bad boys back here. But I will attempt to find a replacement for him, and thank Mike also for his many years of service to the board. I appreciate all he did.
It's been a pleasure to be part of this process, and Carl Cruz put me on this when I came on board in '02, and I had a lot to learn. I will say that. And to any of you, if I can pass this along to the new board members, believe me, do a lot of listening that first year or so, because this is a very involved process. I'd spent 20 years on the Moment City Council, and this was much different. Okay, that budget was 3 million or whatever, and now you're talking about a general fund budget at this point, 33 million and a $71 million budget. So, and the grants and things, I just had no knowledge of that, and I had a lot to learn. So I've enjoyed working in the finance area, and we've gone through the ups and the downs. I can remember in '08, we had a $5 million surplus in the general fund. And in '09, we had a $900,000 budget balance in that budget. We lost $5 million in 1 year over a 12-month period. And you know, when you set a budget and you tell people they can spend this much, and then the income comes down to here, that's when you, as I mentioned in criminal justice, that's when you have, you can't buy the toilet paper at Menards. So when Brian Gadbois came into the meeting, said he just cut us off from the toilet paper purchase out at Menards, we had some serious issues. And at that time, there were people asking for raises. So we had made some tough decisions. And like Mike said, it doesn't make you very popular, but you know, you work for the taxpayers, and that's your job. So anyway, all right, it's been a pleasure dealing with all of you, and this will be, I've got one more meeting and then I'm done. So anyway, thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned. Oh, hey. Oh, okay, new business, sorry.
I know
Mr.
this is
Hill.
not on the agenda, we cannot vote on it, but before the next finance meeting, I'd like to see a resolution brought forward allowing the chairman to okay the claims or whatever we need to do. I'm not an attorney, that's up to Graham to do, but something as a resolution so we don't go through this again. You know, we can't keep spending money on interest. So,
If that's the committee's pleasure, you can't vote on it, but it's your pleasure. Graham can introduce a resolution at the next finance committee meeting, and you can vote on that, okay? Very good, okay. Anything else to come before this committee? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Mr. Mulcahy, Mr. Lejas with a second.
That was my idea. I wanted him to go out in a blaze of glory.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned, and thank you.